Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
So welcome to the Image Critique Show with me and my good buddy, Ricky Avalos. Rick, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Jeff. You're doing great. Looking forward to tonight and the wisdom and knowledge that we're going to be exposed to with our lovely guest that we'll introduce in just a bit.
Oh,
Very
good.
cool.
You weren't referring to wisdom about Jeff, were you?
No, we know that, Cliff. That's a given.
I just
I
want
was starting to think he was talking about you, but no. So the purpose of this program is to have fun, and so far we're doing so okay. So yeah, so cool, man. So thank you for joining us, you guys. This is our 8th program already. It's kind of cool. We're having fun. I think we're kind of honing it pretty well. So it's an educational thing, but also a fun, entertaining thing. As you all know, all of these programs are being recorded and they are put up on the imagecritiqueshow.com page. And that way you can go back and study, especially if you have an image that you've entered. And since we're not doing, video critiques, but we're going to mark these things up like crazy for you tonight, so you have a good idea what we're doing. Hey, couple of announcements that I want to just kind of talk about. We've got the PPC, Professional Guitars of Colorado State Yearly Competition coming up here on August 15th. If you've noticed, it's different than the convention this year.
October 15th.
October 15th, yeah. What I think.
August. I was like, what?
All right, let's start the show again.
That's
October
that
15th.
whole wisdom thing right there.
I just want to see if anybody was catching up, was paying attention. You're all there, thank goodness. October 15th. Thank you very much. But you notice that it's different. The convention is the first weekend in November, as we've always done, but this time we're going to devote a whole day to this, and there's going to be an event, and it's on the ppcolorado.com site. So please join us. Please enter some images and come have some fun with us. We got all kinds of cool trophies and awards. We've shifted a few things around. We have some different awards this year, and so on like that. We'll talk about that another time. So just want to let you know, but the main reason I'm bringing that up is because I know a lot of you are submitting images tonight to kind of test it out to see what you can get back as far as feedback. And also, you probably know that Rick is our longtime jury chairman for our state competition. So we are going to keep this very anonymous. He has no idea who the makers are. So if you have a question, even if it's about your own image, go to the chat box and type in your question there, and Cliff will blurt it out at some point in time. And for what it's worth, we're trying to keep your connection to your images a little more anonymous. But you know Rick well enough to know he's pretty cool about doing the right thing. So just don't worry about that, is guess where I'm going from there. So couple other little points. We are not going to have an October show just because the convention, the competition is the 15th, and then the convention is the first weekend of November. But we will have this show again in November, but it won't be till the 30th, since our usual 4th Thursday is Thanksgiving. Now, I would love to come to your house and do the show. If you want to invite me over for dinner, that would be fine. But we'll wait till the 30th and have the show then. So mark your calendars for the next show. That way you can start getting images ready and talk about things when the MIR program starts again for PPA in January. So that way it is going to be January, or is it going to be February? Because it didn't start till February this year. Rick, what do you know about that?
I don't.
Okay, good, clean, crisp answer. No questions, no wondering there. Enough of me.
Well, there goes the whole wisdom thing.
I know it does. One thing I want to mention real quick, because we were talking about this earlier, but also we'll bring this up towards the end of the show. We're going to start asking a major question, and I'll even send this out to you in an email. But is there some other service or some other topics or things that we can add to this program that you guys might be interested in? Don't answer me right now. Just think about it, but definitely send us emails. And we'll bring that up again at the end of the show, and we'll start sending out some questions. We're also looking for some testimonials, that's the word, from you about what we're doing here. So we'll be asking for that as well down the line. Okay, that's enough news. Rick, we have a wonderful guest, dear friend of ours, phenomenal photographer, waiting in the wings. Talk to her. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. And I just want to, it's such a pleasure for me to introduce Lisa Dillon from the Portland, Oregon area. Sherwood?
Yes,
Okay, okay. Yeah,
tiny
I
little town.
imagine a suburb, is that right?
It is. Yeah.
Oh,
Little
okay,
about right at the edge of the Portland metro
okay,
area, southwest.
okay.
We're
Well,
right
Lisa,
at the start of wine country, so it's,
oh,
Good
okay,
place to be.
yeah.
yeah. Well, Lisa has a list of accolades a mile long in her photography. So, it would take up our 2 hours just to list all of them.
You're
Um,
too kind.
I just want to highlight some of her accomplishments. And number one, Lisa is a giver. Twice now, she's been president of the state association, her Oregon association, and any of us that have maybe been through the chairs and been in the seat of the presidency, it isn't an easy job, much less to be there twice. So I commend you for that, Lisa. And
Thanks.
yeah, and your talent just speaks for itself. If you folks have an opportunity, I believe it's lisadillonphoto.com. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I always find it interesting too about photographers in general, and especially our guests, that we just really don't have a lot of a tunnel focus because Lisa has some other interests, and travel is one of them, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Big time.
Tell us a little bit about you've been some places around the world.
I have. Yeah. This past spring, we spent 2 weeks in Portugal and Spain, which was absolutely phenomenal. Um, Last year we went to Scotland and Ireland. Before that, we went to where did we go before that? Italy and Turkey. We just like to get around. Oh, and we went to Japan in
I was going to say
2019.
you've been in Asia, yeah.
Yeah, we've been to Japan twice and Hong Kong. We got stuck in a typhoon in Hong
Oh,
Kong.
Oh, fun.
We were in a museum enjoying, the museum as you do, and they said it's a category 5 typhoon, you must leave. And
oh
they
my
forced
God.
us out of the shelter area. They said you have to go.
It's
Wow.
out on the street. Find
So
your
we
own
all
shelter
just
at that
got,
point.
yeah, we got to walk through the typhoon deluge back to our hotel. Everything shut down.
Wow.
Everything. The
Wow.
stores, the restaurants, everything. It was crazy.
Well, my excursions pale before what you've done. I I sometimes get to Denver.
Yeah, so you've been to Denver. Yeah. Yeah, he's actually been up here to Longmont once too. So
Yep, yep. Well,
Nice.
it's so good to have you, Lisa, and we're looking so forward to your
Thank you.
comments, your commentary, your insights, and we're just going to have a blast.
Thank you. I want to highlight Jeff put on the chat a mind
oh, yeah.
map that I helped create. If anybody came in after the chat started, I'll do it again. Or yeah. So there it is. Feel free to download that. Brian Welsh and I created this about 10 years ago, and
Can you see it okay?
yeah, there it is. We divided up the elements. We I don't have my thing. There we go. So we've got impact here in the center, which is, that's like the big daddy of all the elements. But we felt like composition, technical excellence, storytelling, and creativity were sort of the next most important of the elements. And we thought that style was kind of an outgrowth of creativity, and subject matter had a lot to do with storytelling. Center of interest clearly is part of composition. And then color presentation, lighting, and technique were really all kind of together with technical excellence. And then if you divide it down the middle, this is really the techie side, the hard sciences, and then over here is the warm fuzzy side. So this is the emotional side, and we're always trying to hit as many of these elements as possible in an image. But I feel like if you get the big 5 right here, you're doing really well. And then if you can get some of the final ones out there that's really going to make a big splash for you. But for me, I can close my eyes and envision this. This is how I can think of what the 13th element. I always talk about 13 because the title for me is the 13th element. But I can always remember what the elements are because I have this emblazoned in my brain. And it just gives me a different way to think of it, to look at it. And I hope that it's helpful for you. Download it, use it, borrow it, whatever. When I critique for image competition or for PPA, I have this up on my secondary monitor, and I just refer to it as I'm going through the image. I talk, all right, let's look at impact, let's look at composition, let's look at technical excellence, and I go all around the elements as part of the critique so that I can make sure that I can evaluate all of the things that your image is going to be evaluated on. So that's how I use this. That's how it is valuable for me. Hopefully it'll help you guys too.
Very good.
And as judges, they use these as they're looking at an image. When they first see that image pop up on their screen, they're using these elements to help evaluate the image and to help really give you back information as to how well you've done or what you could do with these elements and such to either improve your image or congratulate you on doing such a great job because of those things. So that's kind of the purpose of this, and something PPA has used for years. So now, Lisa, have you taken this and how are you using this? I mean, I know how you use it, but have you given this back to PPA? Have you given this to other judges? Has this become a common thing for us?
We have shared this with so many affiliate groups, and we had an article published online, the online version of the Professional Photographer magazine, called A Fresh Look at the 12 Elements, which you can just Google that on, I mean, not Google it, but you can do it in the search bar and it'll bring up at PPA, it'll bring up this article that it just explains how we use this and has some sample images.
Yeah, you shared that with the judging class.
Yeah, when Brandon and I teach a judging class for our local judges, and we always use this as the framework. I don't know, we give this to each of the judges whenever we have an image competition so that they have this, because it has the scoring information here too. So this is just a handy little thing. We used to print it up on postcards and give it out to people when we did our judging in person so that people could have the mind map, could have the elements and the scoring rubric right there in front of them. It's a handy dandy little thing, and it has been spread far and wide, and I'm happy to keep spreading it.
Yeah, it's obviously well thought out. And I failed to mention, of course, that Lisa's an approved affiliate PPA judge, and to our guests out there, that is what we strive to do, is to bring in a guest who is an affiliate juror, so that we can get that insight from PPA's side of judging. But really appreciate that mind map. It's like I say, well thought out, and it certainly is a valuable tool.
That, and I think the fact that we've tried to bring in the PPA jurors is because they've got the experience of delivering the message. So it's not just going to be picking out the bad things or the so you have the 13th element as title. I think the 14th element is love, love, love. But we won't go there.
Or degree of difficulty.
Degree of difficulty.
That actually is sort of an element when you're doing artist evaluations.
Especially, yeah, and that's a little bit different. But I think this puts that information more in front of the viewers to know what the judges are going through, what's going through their minds as they're looking at your image. And and you're sitting there, your image comes up and your heart's beating, you go, oh my God, what are they going to say? That's what we're doing, is we're looking through these elements to try and figure out, okay, how have you accomplished? And the more of these elements you can accomplish, the better off your image is going to score. So
just so you know, on my monitor, my second monitor, I have that sitting right there just so that I can be referring to it.
That's your background? Is that your screensaver? Yeah,
it's just sitting there. So tonight, while we're talking about images, just in case I lose my mind and can't remember what the elements are, they're right there.
And for everybody out there, you've probably seen it. We've put it up there like 3 times now. So it's in the chat box. All you just need to do is, I think it's a right click, and you'll be able to download it for your own. And I'm going to also add there right now while we're talking, I'm going to put up, excuse me, if I can figure out, I'll have to look for them now. I'll put up the elements of design in just the list form, the traditional link, so you have that too. And then, but I'm also, for you Colorado members, I'm going to throw up there. Yeah, good choice of words there, host. I'm going to put, so let's see, here's the elements of design. Oh, let's see, I can't drag and drop. I have to go that way. Okay. But I'm also going to put up our categories for our upcoming competition, because I know there's some questions. There's a couple of new things in there. And then also we will put up the category descriptions and excuse me, what else I have here for you. Let's see. Going here, we've got elements of design. We're going to put up the so the categories and the competition rules. So if you have questions about, and those are both going in the chat box right now. So there you go. So that'll kind of give, because we've got some questions and just a couple things, like the big question I've gotten seriously 20 emails on is, what category can I enter my AI into? Well, the first answer to that is none. That's not a photograph. It's not going to be included. However, whoa. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear all that beeping. I just got a public service alert.
There's going to be a big one next week.
Well, this is somebody has kidnapped child. Oh, sorry, that's sorry. Anyways, so yeah, so all I was just mentioning is that, so just to kind of appease the folks who are asking us about AI, we are going to actually have an AI category that you can enter, but it's purely for show. It's purely just to put it up there, just to show off is how it's going to be. There's no scoring, there's no trophies, there's nothing at all. But it will be used as one of your entries of the 8 that you can have totaler. So I know that question comes up. Okay, we're chatting enough. It's time to move on. You guys ready to go? All right.
Ready.
I'm going to steal the screen back here. We've got a good crowd on hand here. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in here. So let me go back and steal the screen. And so we don't need that. We need this. And all right. So any other quick questions before we go? Any more comments from the peanut gallery? Okay, good. So let's go right into our first image. Is called Attitude. Well, Lisa, we'll just jump right in with you and give us an idea what you think.
All right, attitude. So I'm liking the attitude here. You know, this expression right here is, you know, like just got the stare down. Great. Really like that. We've got great technical excellence here. The black and white conversion is really well done. Nice sharp capture, which is important with wildlife. The background is nice and soft so that we aren't having a lot of things competing with this little moose, I'm assuming. It looks like
Yeah, it does.
I'm assuming it's a teenage moose. So that's where the attitude's coming from.
True that.
Yeah, for me, this is a solid image. This has a lot of potential for a merit. We've got good control of the highlights. I would love to see a little bit more detail right here, just because we're kind of losing detail there. It with wildlife, you kind of get what you get. I do wish that we had more of the legs, but you know, the water was deep, so there's not a whole lot you can do about that with this image. But for me, it would be stronger if we had just a little bit more of the legs, because it cuts off at such a high kind of awkward place right there. But I do like the capture with the leg, you know, having this leg drawn out right there. So for me, that I enjoy, and because we're seeing more of the leg, I appreciate that. I like the presentation with the two-tone matte right there. I think that's really good. And I feel like this is a really solid image.
Rick,
What you got?
you want to add to that, Rick, at all?
Yeah, I totally agree with the tonal range. I think the harmony of the tonal range, obviously I can't say color harmony, but the harmony of the tonal range of the capture with the presentation is handled well. Maybe, I don't know, I just kind of feel like it might be just a tad tight in the composition. Maybe if we could allow a little bit more up on top, just to give it a little bit more space. And then just little things. We've got these little highlights that are in the background that I think maybe could be cleaned up. But I agree, it's a solid image, and just those were just my concerns. A little bit more space in the composition, and then a little bit of cleanup.
Well, I totally agree. I won't go into it a whole lot more, but I don't realize we have splashing water and there's some out of focus drops like here and such, and that's fine. But when you get back here, they start looking more like dust spots. Minor thing, but I would clean those little things up. And the other little thing I would add to it is I would go in and let's get just a little bit more life in the eyes. And you can do that in Photoshop with the underneath the adjustments layer. There's a brightness and highlights and shadows slider that can give you. It's kind of like almost like a quick fix, but maybe just a little bit more detail. This ear isn't too bad, but the nose, I'm being real picky, but it's real close. This shadow right here, because when you get blacks in a scene, that's nothing you can do with that there. But when you get blacks in a scene, it draws the eye, and if there's no detail in there, I can promise you it'll be mentioned by a juror. So, okay, let's move along here. Let me clear that up, and oh yeah, I gotta remember to clear my pen out of the way so I can get rid of that. Okay, let's go into Belleza Latina. Hope I said that right.
Beliza?
Belleza. It's Belleza. It's not a word.
Yes.
Well, I didn't want to go that far and really mess everybody up, but is that how you say it? Belleza? What does it mean, Rick? Do you know?
Beautiful. A beauty.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Rick. Talk about it.
Oh man, I am just taken by this image. I'm not a really big fan of broad lighting, but in this case, it doesn't bother me at all. I like the positioning of the hands. We've got a little bit of a right angle here, but it's carried out with a diagonal angle that leads up to the top part in the face. I would suggest that maybe we tone down these highlighted areas, flowers or whatever they may be above the head, tone them down or take them out. But man, the expression is there, the tonality. I really enjoy the presentation, and the color harmony is just right where I would want to see it. I think it's a beautiful image.
Lisa, what do you think?
I think this is a beautiful image. I like the broad lighting. I'm actually a fan of broad lighting, and so I love seeing it used effectively. It's not always the right light for each subject, but when it is the right light, it just hits great. For me, though, the background is way too overpowering. So you suggested, bringing these down. I would just try to bring the whole background down. I just feel like it is really fighting for attention, and that is not doing her any favors. This is just right on the edge of being too bright. It's right on the edge, and it is, there's a lot of things fighting for attention. We've got this beautiful face, this big flower here, beautiful. I love the that angle we have going on, but we've got the background fight, we've got this, we've got things that are drawing attention. And one thing I will suggest, I always say the title is the unofficial 13th element. That leads into storytelling. But if you use a title that people don't understand, it's a wasted opportunity, and you're expecting a lot to have the judges know what the something in non-English is going to mean. So to me, that was just a throwaway title because I don't speak Spanish. I don't, I'm not getting anything out of this. It's like telling me, I mean, even if you did it in English, beautiful, beautiful woman, um, I can see that this is a beautiful woman. Tell me something about this beautiful woman that is emotion and that draws me in and makes me want to know more, and it gives me something to hang on to. I always want the story to start with a title. Otherwise, there is no story in some, in a standard portrait, if you don't start with a title that has some storytelling aspect to it, then there's really no story there. And that's one of the elements, and it's a really important one.
Yeah, that's the first thing that hit me. And I mean, stumbling over the title is not meant obviously to be insulting or anything, but it is a very huge thing. As if, number one, if you get a problem with the person reading the title stumbles over the word, you might have judges that won't understand what it's for, and you've lost something there. So just keep that in mind. So I think it's a very good point. All the rest of the things that were stated between the two of them, I definitely agree with. And I do have to say, the more I look at this, I think the background is too much. The idea is fabulous. So whether you can soften that more, but it's just a good idea, but maybe a little bit too much, and probably more so in the whites there of those flowers that were mentioned. But I think you got something that's very cool here, and I think it can be worked up even into that high scores that we want to see. So, and the other thing I'm going to say, this is always my big thing, because we can with mats doesn't mean we should. This is on the border. Beautiful color harmony with the matte and the lip and the stroke in there, but I think maybe it's almost too much. This isn't probably necessary, or maybe just that being the same size as this one here. Minor detail, but you're starting to give a judge something more to look at. And you start building up all these layers out here. Excuse me, it becomes a little bit distracting. So this is very
I
cool.
will disagree on that aspect
And I
because
could be
it's
wrong.
so artfully done. Because it's so artfully done and
Okay.
it isn't high contrast. I think it is done really well, and it adds a little bit of depth to the image. So I think it's a beautiful matte presentation. But
Cool.
mine is just one voice on a panel, and so you might have me and Jeff on a panel, and I think the presentation is beautiful. He thinks it's too much, and that could, sway the other jurors. Everyone's going to have an opinion. So I like it, but you
No,
could run the
well,
risk of somebody not liking it as much.
yeah, well said. And that's the thing, is that's why we usually have 5 people on a panel. I don't object to this one. I'm just saying I think it's starting to get a little bit close to being, but no, I think it is well done. But you're right, you start having those difference of opinions. Okay, moving right along here. So I did have let's just chat about this real quick, since we were always talking about this. We were talking about going back to the spots on the on the background of the other picture, and the comment that was made says wildlife category does not allow for removing spots in the background. Judges, talk to me about that one. Doesn't it depend on the category that it's in? Why
It
is
depends on
it's not reportage?
your rules. In general, the only one that doesn't allow for removal of anything is reportage, at least in the merit image review. In IPC, they have a whole bunch of new rules that nobody understands. So
That's true. But as far as like our state association, you definitely could in the wildlife category, which is pretty much do what you can, do what you want. You certainly can eliminate those spots and things like that. So, okay.
I am just not familiar with that at all. I've never heard that in wildlife or illustrative, if you will, that you couldn't do that kind of editing.
Right.
As I understand, is mostly restricted to reportage.
somebody needs to look up your association rules.
Yeah, no, I do have them. That's how I was just reading. It was we do not. That's not a problem. Okay, so here we go. Next one is called Chilling Out. Lisa, what do you think?
Well, this is a real close up of this bird here.
Yes, it is.
I like this story, you know, chilling out. We've got just a bird just hanging there, and I'm feeling the vibe. That golden color feels very strong, and I'm getting a strong sense of it being cut out. And I have no issues with composites, but I want it to not look like a composite. So that means you have to have good edge detail. You have to have, you know, the lighting on it has to be such a way that it feels like it fits in the space with the background. The background has no depth to it. There's nothing going on, so I can't really tell, you know, where the light's coming from with the background. So we don't have a matchup between light on the image or on the subject and light on the background is basically what I'm trying to say. This does feel a little bit over lit. You know, there's it looks like it's outdoors. Really bright light on the bird's face. It's not blown out, but it just feels overlit a little bit. And I think just because there's maybe it's the time of day that it was taken. But it does have a general cut and paste sort of feel to it, and I want it to be blended in and have the background connect with it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Am I making sense with that?
Yeah, no, totally. I agree with you. I mean, I think this concept that we're seeing, where folks are dropping creatures on these different backgrounds, I think it's a pretty cool thing, but it does need to look like it didn't happen that way. And I have to agree when I look at it, is especially in the back of the bird and the tuft to the top of the hair, the feathers, and that's a tough one to do, but I'm seeing a little bit of a white outline, even along the, I think that's I don't know if it's a rock the bird's standing on. I'm seeing just a little bit of a white haloing there, so it can come from a couple reasons, but those are making it look suspicious to the whole concept there, that it's not one image, even though it's okay to do that. That's kind of what I see. Ricky, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with all of the comments that you guys and gals have made. Lighting was a concern for me, in that, you know, we don't have a real strong directional lighting. You know, it's just kind of flat, and it was, as was mentioned, especially in camera left along the side of the body of the bird, you know, that cutout look. But also in the presentation, I think we need to be careful. We see the key line, and you know, it's a choice that a maker wants and to make, and you know, it's up to the viewer to appreciate it or not. But I don't see the key line as being equidistant around the image. You know, we've got a narrow gap. Pull up my. We have a narrow gap along the top.
Oh, I was noticing that too.
But it's
And
wider
it's
on the
wider
left
on the
and right.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So are you Ricky, are you saying that that's, I mean, I have not ever seen any specific rule that says they has to be even, but
No, it just looks better.
yeah, well, no, and I agree. That's kind of what you guys are going on from your experience, is just balanced to look better. I mean, in this case, both sides are equal, but the top and bottom are equal, but they're different. Is that not okay?
Right. They don't match. It looks best if it's equidistant on all four sides.
Okay.
I guess the point I'm making is because of that non-equidistant key line, it pulls me out. And again, as we mentioned before, just another thing that a judge, oh shoot, I didn't notice that, but now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, isn't that true? And especially when another judge mentions something like that, then you can't unsee it. Okay, good stuff, guys. Let's go back. Since we have a little bit of a conversation going on in the chat box with, referring back to the wildlife rules. So if you guys look in there, Chaz has dropped in the wildlife entry rules for IPC are exactly what he's saying, and you can't do this stuff. MIR and what we're doing at the state level are different. They reflect more to the older PPA rules. So in this case, altering the background and things like that is okay. It's fine. But yes, if you go to the MIR, the GIA award thing, then you definitely are more limited to what you can do as far as your, and that's therein lies the confusion, because everybody's going, okay, well, what am I doing now? What's happening? So just,
But it says minor retouching is allowed, and
yeah,
minor retouching means you can remove
those little
a
spots.
dot.
Yeah. Okay. Next, let's see. Clear those up here.
Oh, wait, no, it says it is not allowed to delete or move elements by cloning, healing, patching, content fill away, liquefy, or similar tools.
Well, therein lies the question, because they're like, in that case,
What is minor retouching if you can't move a pixel?
well, but that's just it. What is the definition there? If you're talking about removing a telephone pole or part of a building or something major like that, or are we talking about dust spots? Because you're removing those too. So, you know, that's the question. Where's the question, or where's the definition here? Okay, so moving right along, we have clothed. Boy, somebody else read the titles today. Clothed in glory.
Be a
Lisa,
good
your
one for you,
thoughts?
Jeff.
Oh, what's that?
This would be one for you.
Okay, I'll jump in then. Okay, so there is a black border around here, just so you know.
I
So
was just going to ask if there
Yeah,
was, because that
yeah.
white line is
I
right.
have a black background set up in the Photoshop. So yes, there is a black border that's probably like along, let me get my tool here, and that's probably like along in here. All goes all around. Okay, so first of all, really lovely scene, beautiful feel, the fall content. We all love that. It pulls us in, makes you want to go stand there in the field. Beautiful colors are handled well. Sometimes we see the yellows and the golds and the greens being oversaturated, but this is done very well. Gorgeous clouds. A couple things on the other side, but I feel like maybe the blues are just a little bit too overdone here. Again, I'm being very, very picky, but I grew up in the color darkroom as well. To maybe back that off just a hair, and then maybe overall saturation. Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind it too much, but it's that blue. Also, the thing that I think is catching my eye, this white key line here is maybe just a little bit too prominent. A major thing in key lines is that you definitely want to make sure that if you attach the key line, in other words, the key line is right up against the picture, you want to make sure that you can see it all the way around the image, because sometimes we'll pick a color within the scene that might be, you know, like in this gray or light blue or something, and then we lose the key line in this area, for example. That a judge will pick that up. So this is good that you've done this, but the white, even though it's color coordinated with the clouds, I don't know. Again, I'm on the border. It might be a little. Maybe make it thinner. Maybe do the detached thing, which Rick likes better, and pull the key line out away from your image, so it's just, you know, like in here kind of a thing. Lisa, your thoughts?
I would also not use white.
True. Yeah.
I would use a light or medium gray. You don't want bright white on an image that is actually this dark on the edges. So it just draws way too much attention to itself. What I'm questioning are these lines that I'm seeing in the sky. I don't know what those lines are. It's not lenticular clouds. It's just lines in the sky. So
The blue
that's
here.
something, yeah, that's
I'll
something
be-
that needs to be addressed. They come and go, like with the transmission. So right now they're gone,
Yeah.
but then they'll be back in a sec. There they are. They're back. So I don't know if they exist in the image or not.
I think that's kind of the inherent problem that we've noticed. Several people have noticed. We were doing a competition the other day, and the same stuff. Some stuff would pop up for some judges, and some others it wouldn't show. So that's a tough one for us. But I
Yeah.
don't, because I'm not seeing those lines you're talking about on my screen. Ricky, do you see that stuff? Rick, did you go home? Rick went
No,
home.
I see him faintly. I turned my light off so I can see these monitors.
Oh, because we don't see you at all. We just see a shadow on the background. It's kind of spooky.
Lucky you.
Do you want to add anything to this?
My question to both of you, Lisa and Jeffy, what do you think about the time of day that this is captured?
Yeah, that's you know, you and I have had that conversation many times, and I think as beautiful of a scene as this is, then yes, that's the time of day we were there, and you did a really nice job of capturing it and exposure and composition. But then sometimes you look at it and you have to say, okay, is this worthy of a competition? again, difference of opinions. I probably wouldn't have, because that brighter sunlight like
Yeah,
this.
this line right here, bright sunlight.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, it's funny. I don't mind the sunlight shadow line on the ground, but I think we're almost close to kind of blowing out the mountains. I mean, maybe this image could have been a little bit darker in density, just in printing it, or making it an image, not necessarily exposing it, but you don't want to lose those clouds. I think it's a really cool image, but sometimes there's that, okay, is this powerful enough for competition, or is it just maybe in the wrong time of day?
I mean, it's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful location. I
Yeah.
would be iffy on the time of day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a great calendar work, poster work. I mean,
Oh yeah.
sell them
Yeah.
by the boatload, but that was my concern, was the time of day.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm seeing, that I'll just mention this, that because nowadays it's easy, I'm seeing noise in the sky and in the clouds. That's easy enough with the different softwares, even now with denoise feature in Photoshop, where you can just take that out of the sky and not have it be an issue. Get that nice soft billowy clouds going again there. So okay, moving along. We have, okay, hit the X, Jeff. There we go. We have, and I'm sorry, we talked about titles, Devourer. So Devourer. And again, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, somebody holler at me in the chat box if that's not right. But again, that's kind of, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad title. It's just, if it makes the reader of the title stumble, and if it makes the judges go, huh? Yeah, that's enough said. Anyway,
Hey,
It
Jeff,
would be a more
there were-
powerful title if the grasshopper were actually eating something at the time. If it were
Okay.
on a leaf and actually eating a leaf, like that would be a great title. But it's
That
just sitting
becomes-
there, just kind of chilling right now.
becomes more descriptive then of what's happening. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the image itself, though?
I'm confused about some of the depth of field issues. We've got great sharpness. Got great sharpness right here and right here, but this should be in the same plane of focus, and it's soft. And then we have this giant leaf right here and this giant leaf down here that are in soft focus, and they command a lot of attention. So for me, they are not helping this image. They are fighting against the image. I enjoy the angle we have going through here. I like that. I like the composition. We've got a well-defined center of interest. I just think in technical excellence, we're going to have some issues. We've got direct lighting, so you can tell by this highlight right here. So we've got direct lighting. It almost has an onboard flash type of a feel. And so it's flattening out the grasshopper or cricket or whatever this is. I don't know how to tell the difference, but it's mostly the depth of field issue for me, that extreme shallow depth of field. I feel like it's just really distracting with some of those elements, and some parts aren't really making sense for me. So those are some of the issues. I do like the idea of the story they were starting to tell with the title, but the image doesn't support it because he's not actually devouring things at the time. So it's not the strongest connection between the image and the title.
Yeah,
I hope that wasn't too much of a downer.
No, I agree totally what you're saying. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, and we've been taught for years and years that the eye goes to the area of highest contrast. So, we have that dark leaf up on top in the bottom left corner. So that's a contrast area, but then we add to that the shallow depth of field or out of focus, and that even adds more to it that pulls us away from the image. Compositionally, I was just wondering if maybe we didn't put more of an angle, so that maybe that stem, is going more of an angle, kind of like that, to tip.
Yeah.
But we don't have such a strong vertical of the critter. But yeah, the concerns that Lisa mentioned are main and major, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree with all of you there. And the leaves kind of tend to pull attention. But I think you could easily take those leaves out of the scene, and with the little tip Rick mentioned, but that the fact that the tail end is out of focus as much as it is compared to the face, that concerns me as far as it getting a higher score. So
How far it can go, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Hey, Jeff, can we go back to the mountain for a second, the previous?
Absolutely.
The maker asked a question, said, this was late in the day. Should it have been later?
Hang on, where did I put it? Yeah, I mean, for competition, like Rick mentioned, that this is great for postcards and things like that, because it is a beautiful scene. But one of the things that does sell well in competition is more drama. So usually end of the day, earlier in the day, gives you that much more. It's warmer light. We do have quite a contrast range in terms of color contrast between the leaves and the blue sky and the mountains. The mountain almost itself is too light, and the clouds are kind of right on the spot. So you get a little bit of a challenge there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what time of the day the maker said they did it in late the end of day. But boy, something like this at sunrise or sunset, I mean, those times, this could be that much more dramatic. But at sunrise and sunset, more times than not, we don't have those clouds. They clear out because the temperature changes so drastically. So that's one of the things you have to do there. So I hope that anybody else want to add more to it, but that's kind of what I see in that question.
No, I agree.
Okay. So then we have, I'm sure I'm not skipping somebody here. Get a grip.
Would this be in the reportage category?
Yes, it would. I'm going to jump in real quick because I just think this is from the reportage stuff that we see, the rodeo stuff that we see, especially a lot around this part of the country. This is excellent. Talk about knowing where we're supposed to look as a viewer. Look at the action, the expression on his face, the intensity of the animals moving. I mean, they're both, well, almost airborne. The sharpness, the tonal range throughout this is just fantastic. And so many times these kind of scenes get very tough to view because of the background, because we're shooting into the stands with people. And I mean, this is great.
Right.
It shows where we are, but look at how played down that is. I mean, if this was in a scoring competition, I would probably be pretty high on this. Lisa, what do you think?
100% with everything you've mentioned. I like the title. I like the storytelling here. You know, we're really feeling it's very dynamic. If I were to give a suggestion, I might say to deepen the midtones a little bit. But I think this is a really strong image in that reportage category.
Yeah, and like I said, technically it's really right on.
Mm-hmm.
That goes. Ricky, any more thoughts?
Yeah, you know, we talked about a previous image, and we can only do this like on this particular platform because it's a critique. But I mentioned, I believe it was the 16-year-old moose, and personally, I felt it was a little tightly cropped. This is tightly cropped, but it works very well because it adds to the intensity of the image. If I had, you know, another suggestion, it would be to detach the key line or pick a key line that doesn't blend in areas of the image. I think that's just really important, and that's something that I make kind of a concern about, you know, because we can see that key line going into the image on the bottom left side and far right side. We see it a little bit up on the
kind of lose it here, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we can see it here, but then we lose it here, and we lose it, yeah, right there. And so I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, and instead of playing with different tones of that, I would just make it detached, because if you lighten it up, you're going to lose it up on the top up here. If you make
Yeah,
it
we've
dark,
got every tonal range
exactly
going to the edge.
So I would definitely just bring it out a hair. so that it's there. But I like the color of the gray of the mat. So this is very well done. I think this could do very well in a competition, so scoring competition.
Hey,
So.
Jeff, I have a question about this clip.
Yeah.
So if you had something really distracting, and let's say that pole that's by his foot there was growing out of his head, could you take that out and then enter this into the like illustrative category instead of reportage?
So yes, illustrative, again, we're talking about like the Colorado, because yes, you can do those kind of things. So sure, you could remove that pole if it was offensive to the scene, and that would be totally fine.
I don't think it would be strong as an illustrative image, though. It is strong as a reportage image, because reportage is all about telling a story with an image, and illustrative is a little bit more artistic.
Yeah, I wasn't so much concerned about this image as just if you had something that, okay, I've got to get rid of this. Could I put it in illustrative? I wasn't really speaking about this.
Well, and that's a good point, because but looking at the rules too, reportage photojournalism is very, regardless if we're talking about Colorado MIR or the GIAs, is very restrictive to what you can do. It has to almost be shot, and then you can, change density and contrast and stuff like that. So no for that. But if you were to enter it into the illustrative category, then absolutely.
Okay.
Do that. But Lisa has a really good point. This is such a strong story here for reportage. I would definitely.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean this image particularly, right?
But just gotcha. Cool. So next we have getting the point across commercial. So I'll jump in and chat about a little bit here. First of all, it's a really awesome capture and story for the purpose for this magazine cover, this illustration of what they're doing. Obviously, we've got a story here where we're either training or showing how this particular medical equipment works. So you can clearly see that, whether she's applying it to show it or just they're both nurses working on the patient, it works. It's a good story. Good placement of the words and such like that. To get maybe a little picky, it seems a little bit flat. Maybe that's not right. Maybe the lighting in the faces are a little bit.
It's a little dull.
It's a little dull. Maybe that's right. Yeah.
It needs some snap.
Yeah. So it's you can tell it's been top lit. And I know that sometimes that's fine, and you have to in a situation like that. But I think that it almost feels like it's almost too top lit, or maybe the light is even back too far a little bit. I know you have this issue of blowing that much skin out.
Right.
Any more you want to add to that?
No, that was my big concern, is the lighting being too high. So we have so much light here, so much light, it feels like on her forehead, on the tops of the cheeks. So we're getting this top light feel. And then we end up with the dark eyes, the raccoon. We've got, a lot of darkness here. It just needs a little fill, I think. It's something to give it a little bit of snap.
That's maybe what it is. It just needs a little bit more fill to, because it does seem a little bit. It's again, being a commercial image, it's not about these ladies' faces, but still we want to light them so that they're a little bit more flattering than just losing the shadows in the eyes and such. Rick, anything else?
Yeah. I'm seeing it. Yeah, we certainly have light coming from the top, but also we have light coming in from the right and the left. So we have this multi-directional lighting that kind of makes it visually confusing to me. And, and I can live with that. But I remember way back in the day, the commercial photographers, Jeff, you might remember this guy from Missouri, Joe Vandola.
Oh, sure.
He says, in commercial photography, what are you selling? And I'm looking at medical acupuncture, and I'm just thinking, what if there's room up here for this copy to be placed so that it really stands out? Because to me, that's what they're selling, is medical acupuncture, and this is the tool that they use. So I'm just thinking, and they could even be, if it's too tight, the copy's too tight, the text could be pushed over to the side a little bit more to the right, but that's a perfect spot for that copy that, you know, starts in the gray area and then ends up in the black area. But just thoughts that I had, you know, what in commercial photography, what are we selling?
Right, exactly. Good point. Good point, because that's what it's all about, is the sales of the product and not so much the people or what they're doing. It's just very well made. Okay, let's see.
There is a little concern for me with the skin tones. The skin tone is gray here. Her face has a little gray tinge to it. And I don't know if that's a CMYK issue versus a sRGB issue for showing on the screen.
Right.
But there is a feeling of grayness in the skin tones, and I know that happens when you are doing a conversion from an sRGB to CMYK. If this was a print piece and it was
Right.
still in that profile, that could affect the colors and also the snap of the look. So kind of makes it look dull.
Very well said. Okay, we're gonna keep moving along here. So next we have, I think I smell salmon.
Is there a border?
Yeah, I could see it. It's
There is,
very
yes.
dark gray.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
it's like right about, yeah. There's no key line that I can see.
Is it going to about here?
Yes.
That's
right.
where I put it, the pink line there.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a black.
I can't draw straight lines. There we go.
It's hard to, yeah. There we go. That's a good one there. Well, I'll just jump in real quick. Let's see. I mean, again, a unique capture here of bear. So many times we see him coming at us, walking off to you know, down the beach, down the mountain path, whatever. But I think this is kind of cool in the sense that we've got a little different point of view, kind of hiding behind the weeds. I don't mind that we've got all these weeds in front, and the bear is kind of picking. It even looks like there's some food on his chin there. So
He's drooling.
He's drooling or something like that. So I think that kind of ties in. It's nice and sharp where it needs to be. Love to see a little bit more detail in the eye, but unfortunately, I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a lot of banding.
Yep.
The background here, and I
All
sure
the
that's a remedy,
way
but
across.
yeah, especially in that light sky up there. Anything else you want to add to this, Lisa?
The fur feels very soft and mushy. I'm feeling like it's really sharp right here in this area. And so I think we've got a depth of field issue where this is the focus and it didn't follow through as far back as the face. And so what we would think of as the the center of interest would be the face, is not as sharp as the body. So I think that's something that needs to be tack sharp for me, for something to be in the merit category. I want to see that face nice and sharp. I do love the story. I think the story, the title is very charming, and that gives me some interest in the story. So from a storytelling and emotional standpoint, I'm connected to the image, but it just doesn't hold up in the technical excellence.
Right. Rick, you want to add any more to that?
Well, I just beat something up. But compositionally, we have the head of the bear almost bullseye. If we had a little bit more space to the right and a key line to separate it from the mat.
Well, we have this horizon line going right through the head too, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me so much because it's so soft, but I do agree a lot of times we want to try and avoid that, but it is soft enough I can get past that one. But I think some of the other technical issues that you mentioned are just kind of what would keep it from scoring higher in competition. So okay. Moving right along, we have In a Hot Second. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, nice and crisp. I guess the first thing I looked at was that plume of fire that's
Fire?
coming up.
Yeah.
And then, I guess it's the what would it be? The
Well, it's an aircraft back there just in the background, so that
Yeah.
the flame has distorted the air, so it gives us that.
Right. You've got these heat waves.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and man, that's where my attention immediately goes to. But
There's some
I
down
mean,
here too.
it's nice crispness to the image. And again, compositionally, I would like to have seen a little bit more space, camera right.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious that, we're going at a pretty good clip of speed, just to give the truck room to go out of the image. And again, the key line, because we're losing it really bad in a lot of places.
We're losing it, he says.
I don't mind an inner key line that isn't visible everywhere, as long as there's also an outer key line. I'm a
Second.
big fan of the double key line.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I wish there was the truck or the fire, or the airplane. I feel like the airplane being in this image is a hindrance to my enjoyment of the whole image. I don't know what's going on. I think the subject matter, the center of interest is this truck, but then we have this thing that's intersecting it, and for me the airplane just doesn't make sense. I really wish it wasn't there. I want just that fire to be there.
Yeah.
That would make it so much stronger for me, not to have that airplane and the contrail behind it.
Another thought I had, and something that just caught my attention, is this line here, and maybe just taking it out, the bottom line, because
On the pavement there.
yeah, because it makes it feel like it's dipping, but yet right here and right here, the line above it is pretty much level, and it's just visually, it kind of pulls me down to the bottom right.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
spot.
these lines diverge right here.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it is an illusion, but it feels like it should be straight across, and it's not.
So eliminate these lines.
I wouldn't eliminate this line, the top line, but I would the bottom.
This bottom one here. Okay. Yeah. But I would say, look at this green line I drew. It's interesting. Maybe we can't do that. Crop that, or at least crop it above all the fireball. But I think if that plane was not there, I think this would be so cool.
I
Yeah.
do too. I do.
Distracting.
It almost feels like it's a collision.
Yeah.
Like, because we've got smoke, we've got this, it's like it's crashing into the fire. I just don't think it's confusing the image. It's not adding anything to it.
Yeah. It is a cool perspective for a photograph, but for the competition, I think it might be all the things you're saying, just a little distracting more than beneficial. So
and this kind of image too, you can experiment and play with it. If you don't have any in this project, but future, maybe try a panning effect to get the wheels moving, and a little more motion into it.
Right, because it doesn't
almost looks like it's standing still.
Well,
it doesn't have the feeling of motion.
No, I think it is standing still. I think the pilot, the driver, is just revving up his engines for the smoke display. So I don't think he's moving at all. He's probably got clutch in. But yeah, I still think if we gave it a little bit more room on the front to give it that waiting for the get ready, set, go kind of thing, it would then have it a little more impressive feel.
This down here made me feel like it was moving because it had all this exhaust coming out.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Well, I think it is exhaust, but it's the same idea as what's happening around
Right.
the flame of the coming up here. Because the tires are perfectly sharp, like it's sitting still. I don't know. We'll have to check with the owner on this one. Okay, moving right along here. We have Night Flight. Lisa, your thoughts?
Wow. This is
Me too.
stunning. Absolutely stunning. I love a good silhouette. And silhouettes are hard to do, so this is done extremely well. They've done the capture on the birds so that we don't have any weird overlaps that make the shape look unrecognizable. Have selected 3 birds. I don't know if this is a composite or if this is in capture. And then this is a case where I don't care. I don't care if this is
Right.
a composite or if this was an actual capture. I love it. I feel like it has a lot of strength in the composition. We have a clearly defined center of interest. We have great color harmony, tremendous impact in its simplicity, which makes it really awesome. Your title is simple. There's a story here. These birds are probably migrating. They have that goose look to them, so I'm assuming that they are some migratory birds. The technique is well done. It's firing on all the cylinders.
Rick, want to add to that?
I totally agree with so many of the positives. The composition is so strong. The color harmony is handled extremely well. If we look at the bottom right corner of the image itself, it almost blends into the matte. And this is one of those cases where I think an attached keyline would really help. But as it is, the keyline again,
it's not equidistant.
Not equidistant. So just a concern. Now I'm hoping it's just my transmission, my monitor, but it seems like camera left of the moon, I'm just seeing some vertical lines. Are you guys seeing?
I think that's transmission. That is,
I agree with that.
We're seeing a zoom recollection or
okay, that's all I need to know.
I mean, what does it look like in real life, Jeff? You're looking at it.
Well, listen, there's a nice glow around the moon that is very realistic.
But is it pixelated?
But no.
Okay, that's what I figured.
But I think this is again just I don't think these lines are here. I think it's just what we're seeing in this transmission of this image. Yeah.
And and this goes back to what Cliffy alluded to when we first started out, the zoom being a two-edged sword. I mean, if we were live and we had calibrated monitors, we'd be able to enjoy these to the nth degree. And to our visitors here in the gallery, we just do the best we can given the technology and the way things are presented to us through Zoom and these other platforms.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah, I think if we just address this stroke being equal on all 4 sides. The other thing I think is very cool is there's a very slight cloud bank. There's a little bit of clouds are here, and that just gives us just a little bit of depth instead of just this plain blue sky. That to me really gives this thing a lot of reality to it. So nice work.
This image could really go a long way.
Go right into my house here. I got a wall right over here. Okay.
Right.
Okay, moving right along. We have Princess and the Frog. Rick?
Yeah. We've got really nice portrait lighting that very, very classic, a nice ratio of light. As far as the posturing of the subject, we've got this right angle of the shoulder to the hands, elbow to the hands. And I think, if we were to maybe make a little bit more of an oval of the hands, and I understand, the story that we're talking about, but, just to add a little bit more classicism, if you will, to the image. Also, I feel that our subject is almost framed in the background. If she was placed a little bit further to the camera left, she would be, framed a little bit more in that opening. Might be just a little bit heavy on the background. We might want to tone it down a little bit, but and I'm looking at the key line, and I'm just feeling that the key line could come in at least maybe 2/3 around the image, because key lines can be so beneficial to an image, but they can also be detrimental, because when they're separated from the image that far away, they tend to pull our attention and our eyes away from the main subject.
Yep, they really fight for your attention.
Yeah,
This
go
bottom
ahead.
half right here, it makes me feel like this was a composite. So we get sort of a floating feeling. I think the background is very pretty, but it's so powerful, and this floating sensation, it just, for me, it's not really coming together. I'm not sure how that could be fixed.
Are you suggesting they make it more floating or not?
Less. No, this just feels like it doesn't blend properly. There's a little bit of a missing shadow right there. I don't know. This bottom part is just not really working for me, as far as it just doesn't feel like as a floor. This feels like a flat background that she's been attached to, rather than being a floor where it folds and then comes out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and if it was a cloud she was standing on, that would make, I think, a little more acceptable.
That's what it feels like. It feels like
yeah,
she's
but
standing on a flower cloud.
Yeah, so that's what's making it hard for us to feel the realism of that. I won't
And
add
there's
any more
the
to it, but I
depth.
agree. Yeah.
I
Okay.
do love the lighting on her face, though. I think that's really beautiful.
This, I think something like this, probably standing, she's standing in front of a portrait background, that might be strong enough without all the flower background. What do you think of that?
Right. Well, and even just the tonality of the background here without the foliage and the floral.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Just a sweep background. So,
and I also kind of think that she's just a little bit large in the composition. Give her a little bit more space on top at least.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful idea. It's quite an attempt at this very dreamy kind of a feeling, but I think it's, like you said, it's just missing down here in the connection with what she's standing on. So good talk. Glad we Okay, let's see what happened. Oops, what happened to my picture file? Hold on here. We have Reflecting Falls. Well, I'll say something about it. This is a very beautiful capture of multiple falls, which sometimes is a tough thing to do. Nice time exposure. I know there's always the comments from judge to judge is why we have multiple. A lot of times if let me get my little annotation tool here. We get some blown out highlights in the highlight, but as doing this kind of work, I don't mind that at all, because when you do a slow shutter and you get faster moving water, you will get that. And it's just, it's minor enough. The rest of the waterfall has wonderful soft texture to it, even where it's hitting the lake itself. Very good dimension. This log across it just kind of gives us a little bit of a feeling of depth from where we are to where the waterfalls are. Background is, there's not much you can do about that because it is what it is, but it is, I'll say busy, but it's fine. It's not too busy. It doesn't take away the falls. And then this guy right here really stands out, which I think is a nice little, both these trees, nice added effect to the reality of the scene. I'm okay with the matte. I maybe personally would have toned the keystroke down a little bit more, but it's right there. So, Rick,
Just one thing, and it goes back again for me, time of day.
Mhm.
I just feel that it's because of that particular time of day, we've got so much brightness and brilliance in the background. And I think having, you know, if it's earlier or later, whatever the case may be, I think the tones would be softened so much more. It's a beautiful image, no doubt. I was also playing around with cropping, because this trunk did bother me quite a bit. And I'm thinking, what if we just took part of the image and worked with that? You know,
oh, just do that part of the scene. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Let's do what we do here. Hold on a sec.
Sometimes less is more.
Oops, I can't follow your blue too. Let me get rid of the blue there. So you're inside the dead white tree,
Correct.
and I'll just take it inside the mat here. So like
Yeah,
this.
something along that line, sure.
Yeah. Leaving this tree in the water in front of it, or cropping that up.
I don't mind that it gives some interest to the foreground. I don't know if maybe we should tip it to where that tree is level, if you know.
This one here.
No, the foreground, this one here.
Oh,
I
well,
wouldn't tip it.
no, because then the falls.
Then your water's gonna be falling the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think the water's pretty straight. Then you'll get this one over here, and I can use my tool. This
Be
one
all
over here
wonky.
would get to be even more wonky. I like that word wonky. I'm going to start using that one.
I like the three falls personally. Because the one you cut out was my favorite. It was more ethereal,
Ah,
which I mean this right here, this is arguably the best of the falls. So I like that one
I'm
best of
bringing it back
all.
up here. So this one on the right, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, again, I like the odd numbers too, that we have with the three falls, and then
This doesn't bother me being there, but I would tone it down because it is this trunk is very bright. So I would tone that down a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessarily the wrong time of day, but I think this was probably taken on an overcast day. So we
Yeah.
just don't have any not any, we just don't have a lot of snap to it. Well, sparkle. I think it has been, you know, we've enriched the color to compensate for the flatness of the light. For me, it's just right on the edge there as far as the lighting situation is concerned. Um, I I would probably merit this image, but I don't know that I would take it very far beyond a merit. So I think it's right on the edge. I feel like and maybe I harp on this too much, but I feel like the title just doesn't do anything to make me connect with this image. Reflecting falls, the reflection is the least interesting part of this image, and so using the title to talk about the reflection isn't I don't think it's doing the image any favors. You know, I always when I teach classes about competition, I always tell my students, this is your opportunity to sit down next to the judge and whisper in their ear, this is what I want you to pay attention to. This is what I think is the most important thing in the image. And if you're telling me, you know, by calling it reflecting falls, then you're telling me to pay attention to the reflection. And the reflection is like I said, the least interesting thing in the image. This crop is phenomenal.
Here's what I see here.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
bringing
I
it in
agree.
on the right there hides the fall that's behind the tree there. I think this is a much stronger crop, and I think a title that, you know, three for the money, I don't know, just some title that emphasizes the falls themselves, this moment in time, this place, your feelings about the place. That's going to have me connect with it more. And by cropping it tighter, then you've gotten rid of some of the distracting elements that were a little bit top lit and bright on the top. So yeah, I think this image has potential as a merit image for sure. I think some judicious cropping, some judicious darkening,
I
and
think,
then a nice strong title.
yeah, I think some serious toning down, especially along the edges. Whether it's well, that helped.
But
Of
that's
course,
only
for me, it's
You
always
want to open up this area a little bit more.
look at how we can make the falls stand out more with black and white.
yeah. But I'm still getting green. Getting green over here. It's not true black and white.
You're still getting green?
Yes. This feels green right here.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe it's just a shadow in my mind.
That's a book title. There's at least a title of a portrait for you. Shadows in my mind.
Well, and when you do make a conversion like this, sometimes the black and white just says, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that to begin with?" But I really think I prefer the color version.
Of course you would.
I like the black and white, but I enjoyed the color a lot too. So yeah. I do like this crop a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the color one better too.
Fine. So maker, beautiful job. I think color or black and white would be pretty cool, but I think if you listen to some of the things that these people have said, you might have a real strong scoring image here. So good work though. All right, next image. We're doing pretty good on time, but we got to keep moving along here. So we have Stargazer. Lisa, you want to jump in on this?
Okay. I I love astrophotography. I think it is so cool. You have to do such a long exposure that you end up with sort of a muddy feeling with maybe there was I don't know. I mean this pink stuff ends up looking muddy and gray. And it's such a contrast with the sky that I struggle with that. I don't know that is this part down here is helpful at all in the
So
image.
maybe a crop up might be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cropping it up a little bit. This is really soft right here, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just the texture of the rock. It's there. I'm not, is this an actual capture, do you think? Because that's what I'm struggling with, the believability of the capture.
As opposed to
A dropped in sky taken in two different exposures. Yeah.
Hard to say. I think it's well, if it is, it's well done. And I know a lot of times that folks will set up the camera and will make an exposure of the scene, and then whether they leave the camera sit there until the Milky Way shows up and make another exposure, or they drop in the scene. But this is a very low lit, obviously the rocks, so you're going to get that muddy kind of murky feel to it.
I almost want less light on the rocks.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If maybe there was even a little bit darker, still a little. I like that there's a little bit of definition here, and I think that crop like you did here is probably also a good idea for this, because I believe the story is about the Milky Way and then the foreground, and we have just maybe a little bit too much in the front here.
I would also probably change the title from Stargazer to Stargazing, because Stargazer implies that there's a person who's doing the stargazing, and so I'd want them in the image.
Good point. Rick, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted. I mean, we've got a really nice contrast between the cool colors of the sky and the Milky Way against the warm tones of the foreground. I'm just thinking that, you know, a little different angle, if this is all one capture, maybe moving, you know, further camera right to pull the Milky Way to the off center, so to speak, of the, because it's almost vertically centered from left to right, just to create a little bit more interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, that's a thing that I've noticed over the years of people who do Milky Ways. They will line up the Milky Way with the Eiffel Tower, the top of the mountain, whatever, and that's kind of how it's done a lot of times. So I will say that it's a pretty common thing, is that the Milky Way is centralized and it's shot so it looks like it's coming out of the items. Whereas, of course, classically trained portrait artists that we are, we're going to want to separate those things so there's more depth in the scene. So, but
I would
I
get rid
think,
of whatever this little white spot is,
yeah,
because it looks like it's on the rock rather
think
than
it's
in the sky.
a
not
star.
helping. Yeah.
Yeah, right at the horizon there. I think it's just pulling the attention there. But I think this is, from my experience, this looks like it is shot at one time. And very nicely done as far as that goes. But things that you guys have said, especially the cropping, I think we could eliminate half the foreground here, because there is great interest still in it. And I would even maybe come in on the left a little bit too, and just get rid of a little bit more of it, so we bring the Milky Way just off center a little bit too. But very cool though, capture. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
great story, and always makes you want to look over your shoulder, see who's looking at you in the big dark at night. So we have Sunset at Factory Butte. This was
Can you make this
I
bigger?
will. It was a small image when it was submitted. So if I go too much, I don't want to, you might lose
Okay.
a little sharpness or a little.
Do we have a mat on this one, Jeffy?
There's not.
Okay.
I don't think. Hang on, let me just. No, there's not. It's just the image alone.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't want to go any larger than that because it's already starting to break up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, having established that, the first thing, full bleeds, I mean, there's no rule that you can't enter them, but they generally don't do as well as a presented image, because that, after all, presentation is one of the elements. But
It
having
is not for IPC, however.
That's true. They have eliminated that for IPC, haven't they?
Okay.
You can do it, but it's not it's not one of the elements that they judge
yeah, and we have
against.
to differentiate between IPC, MIR, and our states, and you know,
Right.
all of that. So
Traditionally,
as far as
Yeah.
as far as the state, if the maker wants to go further with this in the state or MIR, this is where what I'm talking about, because there's a world of difference between MIR and IPC, and it's
right.
I mean, we can discuss that till the cows come home, but you know, for our purposes here, I just feel that it would benefit this image to have a presentation. I think the composition is strong. As I see the file itself, you know, beautiful highlights and shadows, textures. You know, one of those situations where the leading line comes in from the right into the main subject. I think it's handled quite well. It's just a little finessing would take it a little further.
We have a great composition on this with my non-straight lines.
Was that supposed to
I'm
be a
doing this
straight
with
line?
with a brace and a broken hand.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that. We have a handicap judge with this.
Yeah. But you know, this is just beautifully placed right there on that PowerPoint. And I really, really like the composition. It's so tempting, happens a lot, to put the mountain right in the center.
Yeah.
So I like that this is done really nicely. I think the time of day was really well selected, so we get this beautiful gradient in the sky. I think I would love to see just a little bit more richness in the midtones. I think the highlights are handled nice. The lowlights are handled well, but I would love to see just a little bit more in the midtones, just to kind of enrichen the image. But I have a lot of fondness for this image. I'm gonna say that the title is not doing anybody any good. You've identified it,
Right.
Factory Butte, but that means nothing to me as a juror. I don't need to know that this is Factory Butte. Telling me what I'm looking at when I can just look at it and see it, I don't know. I find that descriptive titles are not ones that enhance. It wouldn't detract from the image, but it doesn't help. It doesn't elevate it in any way. So,
Yeah, I agree on that. I was going to mention that too, that title could be a little bit, I mean, we've got a beautiful, dreamy, almost dreamy feeling here. It could be a little bit more that way. And I'm guessing this is a drone image as well, which gives us a chance to really, and it's almost a graphical piece, having those, like you said, those midtones being a little bit gone. So I don't object to it. It's really different. The color harmony, the color tone throughout is beautiful. Like you said, the placement, the separation we've got from this main peak to the mountain range in the background, and even this piece over here just supports, because we get a little bit of, I don't want to say emptiness, but we've got these beautiful lines on the left, and we have this, but this piece was a great choice to put this in to balance it out, to not have it just go into nothing over here. So that was, I think, a really good, I really think the composition here is very strong. At first I thought I maybe cut the sky down a little bit, but nah, look at the nice purples up in here that reflect in here, so I'd leave that alone. Adding a mat and a key line to this, I think this could do real well in competition. So
agreed.
do that. Do that, maker. All right. Next we have, and I love this, what this makes you think of, the legacy of water.
Now there's a title.
There's a title, exactly. And that makes you think about legacy water. Okay, well, really, was there a time when water started? No. What has water done to this canyon? What has happened? You know, look at the.
It has created this canyon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of just telling me what the name of the canyon is, you've given me a story.
Yeah. And then adding the sun rays and even the reflections off the lens elements and such, all that, which is a lot of times a dangerous thing. I think it works very well.
Yeah.
This whole concept, a little bit of the river, the rock formations, the veins of different rock throughout, even the color tones. I don't object to the balance of the the foreground rocks and the midground and then a little bit of sky. I think it's done extremely well.
I think we could cut off a little of the bottom. I don't know that this is necessary.
Let's just see. You're saying about right here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just bring it all in inside the mat and we can look at the image alone.
I'm not a super fan of the mat.
Yeah, I guess I have to agree with that. Rick, any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, and I would recommend just slightly, not overdoing it, but just toning down this area just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
And I noticed that the key line too was attached, and there was a couple places where we kind of lost it.
So we have kind of, whoops, wrong software there. We have oh, for crying out loud. This is what happened to me last time. It won't let me get out of this.
I like that crop.
There we go. It allows us, there is a bit of a brown mat. You can see it. It's about cursors, yeah.
I think the mat is a little on the big side. I think the key line's a little on the big side. And I think they are fighting for attention with the image itself.
Rick, you're not going to believe I'm going to say this, but I think the detached key line might be more beneficial here. A lot smaller. We've always had that. Yeah. No, this is right. No, this is right. So this looks like it probably could be a 20 pixel wide.
Yeah, I think a 2 or 3 pixel wide key line just detached would be very nice.
Yeah,
you're wise beyond your years, Jeffy.
Well, I've been around you too long, either way. I don't know. This is definitely something I think I would hope that the maker would take this on into competition, because there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good color and stuff going on in here. So, okay. Next we have. I'll clean it up in a minute. Let me get rid of this stuff right now. Okay, we have the Metropolis. And my first comment is, ooh, do I love this?
Yeah.
I'll
First of
second
all,
that.
the time lapse, the time exposure is very
Mhm.
cool. The
The velvety
composition,
water.
yeah, the velvety water, the lines of the oh, what do they call those things?
Clouds.
No. Thanks, Lisa. You're allowed to help
Just
them.
kidding.
No, the wood things, they're not piers, but I can't think of the name of it. Anyways, if somebody thinks of those, let me know. Pilings, I guess that works, yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's all just wow, stunning. Maybe if I could say anything about it, it might appear just to be a little bit flat. I'd like to maybe see just a little bit more on the brighter, not brighter overall, but maybe a little bit more contrast. We got plenty of deep shadows, but maybe just a little more whites. I think that would bring out, because the pilings do kind of go dark, maybe because I know there's textures on those. Minor thing, but man, I like this a lot.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you
I
think?
I think it's pretty contrasty. I would want a little less, just a tiny bit less contrast, just soften it ever so much. But this is a great composition. We have, these great lines coming into the city, to the metropolis. So everything is leading us here. This is beautifully centered. Eh, this is just really well done. I love the shape of the crop. There's just not much I don't like. I would just like to lift the darks a little bit,
Yeah,
just
that's
a little bit.
probably what it is.
You know, it's so odd for me to say something like this about a cityscape, but because of the way this image was captured with the long exposure and and the soft velvety look of everything, there's a romanticism to it. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
one thing that just kind of pulls me, this little highlight right there.
Oh, yeah, I did not even see
It's
that.
funny though when you say that, because I didn't notice it before, but the minute you pointed it out, it's like, oh darn it, yeah.
But
So remember
I
that
thought
little,
I thought you were gonna do this, because that's the brightest thing in the image.
yeah. Yeah, I don't mind that
man,
much.
this is just kind of like I don't know, like opening scene or whatever to like a Hallmark movie, I don't know. It's
Not a
just
Hallmark
No,
movie.
no.
Those are all in quaint villages. No,
Yeah,
no,
this,
they're not.
this
No,
is
they're
an
not.
Academy Award winning movie that this one's opening it to.
Oh, they have all
yeah,
the city things and all that
Yeah.
other.
I
Yeah,
think it's
very well done.
the title Metropolis. It also harkens to the movie Metropolis, which
Yeah.
has this same sort of feel to it. It's gritty, it's black and white, it's a city. That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of the movie Metropolis, and
Yeah.
not just the fact that a city is called a metropolis.
Right. Yeah.
But it's firing on all cylinders, working well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck to you on this one, because I think this is going to
Beautiful.
do well. So all the rest of you out there, whoever's this is, look at what you're up against. Darn it. All right, let's see. Let me get rid of that stuff. And we now have we just have about a half a dozen more left here. We're doing pretty well. Yeah. Timeless Afternoon at the Ancient Valley. Lisa.
I'm not sure what I feel about this.
Okay, well, you think, and Rick, you want to say something about it, and we'll come
Yeah,
back.
I think there's certainly an ethereal feel to the image. Technically, we've got some blown out areas in the sky and in the clouds that maybe can be worked. It's a nice feel as far as the tree line that kind of frames the background, but this whole area in here just has a really soft look to it. I do have a little concern with the presentation. We've got obviously that, and then we've got the key line, and then a darker border, and then the image. And those three layers just kind of tend to pull me away from the image. But There's just a real soft, ethereal feel and quality to the image.
Now,
Can
Lisa?
Can you clear the blue lines for a
Sure.
second?
Sure can.
So as things go further away from you, they should get lighter. But these trees are darker than what's closer. And so it it feels to me, and then we've got, you know, these dark edges right here, kind of a dark edge up here. It, it's not fitting with what I would expect from a landscape scene where you have atmospheric particulates. Feels like this was darkened in, and that was darkened in, and so it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel authentic to me. I love this scene back here in the valley, but I'm getting kind of hung up on these trees and this dark ridge up here,
Let's just try
and this
something
and
there.
this spot right here.
So, and I'll just go on my experience. The this darkening that you see on the top of the cliffs, this soft vignetting kind of a feel, that's very natural. When you get this kind of a cloudy, lots of particulates in the sky, you're going to get the ridge will appear darker because what's right behind it is going to be the lower area in a different perspective, and you'll see lighter light on. So this is very normal. That's why these trees look darker. Now, yes, I think they are technically, I mean, darker than what's down here, but they will appear darker because they have a high contrast behind them, where these guys just have the same tones. But having said that, I do agree that it is drawing our eyes unnecessarily. And, you know, me and my cropping, I'm looking at, let's just try something like, because I think maybe there's, I don't know, is there just maybe not, we don't need all that foreground? Because the story is the valley, the story is the mist and the clouds, and also too, we're talking about different computers and things. I don't see any highlights blown out up here, Rick, myself. Maybe,
Yeah, I don't see
maybe
highlights blown
a
out.
few very tiny, but not enough. But see, this to me, I think pulls in even more of the valley. We still have enough foreground. We still have that nice scoop that you talked about. But this kind of brings us into there's a before and afters, just a thought. I don't mind, but I think this brings us more into the valley, more so.
I think for me, I like the original crop, but I think if these foreground trees were a little darker,
Down here
it
at the
just
bottom.
feels, yeah, it just feels
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the reverse of what I would expect. This is light here and dark there, but with all the atmospheric particulates, this should be darker and it should be getting lighter as it goes further back.
Yeah, I agree. I think these areas would have been would best served if they were more in the density, the darkness of these trees. Here's
Yeah.
two is obvious. That's why I thought the crop would work too. But no, I agree that if these were toned down, it would give us that same feel of here's the ride where we're going up the
Right.
valley.
Yeah.
And then of course I look at it now, you know, what's my first choice, Rick? Black and white.
Yep.
All right. Well, what would it look like black and white?
I don't know. Let's just go see.
I like it black and white. I like it a lot.
So we can adjust the cyan, which is that ultraviolet.
Yeah.
You look at the, we can give us
Yeah.
more land, or we can give us more of a hazy look, and that's just a personal preference there. I go a little darker with the blue. My purple's
I
not
like it less hazy.
less hazy, so we can give
Adjust that
blue.
cyan back a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of also giving us clouds a little bit of an issue there. We could, that's an easy fix.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have played with the new AI stuff with cloud with sky replacement. It's just like sickeningly ridiculously cool. Anyways,
But you
so
can't do that for competition
And if we,
without
what? What'd you
Identi-
say? What?
you know, and if we
Yeah.
do go with the black and white conversion, then the presentation really becomes something that we need to consider.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Anyways, just a thought for you, maker. Just because I say black and white doesn't mean it should happen, but it's good. Okay, moving along, we have watercolors. I think this is a really unique composition here from what we've seen in past. I know we're usually aren't supposed to compare, but just as in encouragement to the maker, this is a little different look at those Tetons. I do like the flower in the foreground, a little bit of path. It's pulling us into the scene. Nice reflection in the water. The trees, I know they're there, and it's kind of they're kind of asking for a lot of attention, and then we drop off quickly in the upper left to that back to that bright sky, another mountain. That I don't know, maybe a crop of that off would be better. But how the mountains and the sky and all that are handled back here, and the greenery across the lake and excuse me, the river is very nice. There is you guys can see the map. There's a really deep blue that's out about this far. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
that tree is really dominating.
This guy here?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm not sure what can be done about that. It's dominating. It takes a big portion of the image, and it doesn't really give us a lot of satisfaction, tree satisfaction, because for me, I want to see the point of the tree.
Yeah.
And not seeing the point of the tree makes this just unsatisfying.
Still kind of much tree, huh?
I mean, that helps a little bit, but there's no defined center of interest, honestly, because the tree is so dominant. The mountains are in the background, but then we've got these yellow flowers in the foreground that are also very dominating. And so
And they
without
almost take on the size and perspective of the Tetons.
right. So we have a lot of things that are vying for attention as far as center of interest is concerned. I don't feel like it's a real defined center of interest. And I think what you would need to do is choose. I like that idea for a crop, because then it reduces the tree, it gets rid of the flowers, and then it gives us a center of interest that we really want. I wouldn't go that high because I want go down a little bit. There you go. Not that much. I don't want any of those yellow flowers. There we go.
Guess we know what kind of flowers not to get her for her birthday.
No yarrow. I could take a look. I would go back to the left and let a little bit of that tree in
Yeah, to frame it.
to frame it.
So just about in like that, but above the yellow
Right there.
flowers.
And above the yellow flowers. There we go. That to me is a stronger composition, and now that's
Yeah.
a strong composition right
That's
there.
nice. 'Cause now we
We've
have
got
nice
them.
balance.
Yeah, and then we
Oh,
just tone these down right here in the bottom left.
Yeah. Yep. There we go. Now I know what I'm looking for. Compositionally, it's strong, and I enjoy the pink alpenglow kind of look on the mountains.
yes.
And the
Beautiful
tree is not
reflection.
trying to dominate.
Right. I might darken the sky just a tiny
Yeah,
bit. The gradation,
definitely.
gradation would give you a nice little deeper tones and let the mountains stand out even more.
Yeah.
Cool. Rick, anything else?
No, that was the crop I had in mind,
I know.
and you did so well with it.
Did so well with it. you know, after so much time, you got to know what the other one is. We've only got 4 images left, so we're doing pretty well on time here. So, and I haven't been looking. Has there been any questions that I've been missing? No, we're doing good. Oh, so this one, sorry. This one is called Wavelength. And this is also, there's no presentation on that. It's
Can you
I'm trying.
enlarge it a little?
So yeah, there is no presentation on this one.
A simple the key line that is about what this selection line would be perfect.
Yeah.
And then just a black mat, I think would really be perfect for presentation. I love this. I absolutely love this. I have no idea what I'm looking at, and I don't care.
I'm looking, I think it's a building, and look at some condo or something, and there's all the the levels of the porches or railings or something, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, just really an awesome point of view.
very high on the creativity and the
Yes.
style.
Yes.
Composition is phenomenal. The technical excellence, the lighting is just great. You know, we've got this bright down the center. We've got the bright lines. It's creating, you know, a lot of geometric and wave patterns. Man, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I even don't mind that we drop off into darkness.
Not at all.
It's a nice balance for what
It's
we
part
have.
of the composition. I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of the I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
only thing that I am not a fan of is whatever this is right here. It's messing with the wavelength.
Yeah, I see that little bit right there. And the same with that, what I just circled, the top edge of the balcony for some reason, because there's no detail behind or above it. It's asking for attention. I'm not sure, but minor.
It has to be there, otherwise
that's I think so.
the rhythm is off.
Yeah, because it does have an equal space.
Yeah.
It's like notes on a music sheet. This is really, really cool. And like I said, with the right presentation, this could sing.
I want to print this and have it on my wall because I'm a huge black and white fan. All of the artwork in my house, except for family portraits, is black and white.
The only other thing I see, again, just being real picky, but we do that. I shouldn't use that word picky. We're just trying to get it to a higher end point. Is that a dumpster down there?
Yeah, I was noticing that too.
And actually, we have somebody made a comment here. I'll read this. I don't think a presentation is necessary in this one. Think of that, it would look like a printer to a 24 by 36 metal. Yeah, that's probably true. This could be one of those images that you definitely could get away with without a presentation. I will say, just from my experience with how it all works with PPA judges, make a presentation or you'll hear about it. But all it would take, I mean, even just look at the selection line that's around there, but that kind of a key line, one stroke, 2 strokes,
1 pixel, 2 pixels. Yeah.
With that color, that would be with just a black border thin. Oh, that would be, again, my little joke that the only thing wrong with this is it doesn't say Jeff Johnson right here. Sorry. Very, very nicely done. Very strong. I think this could do pretty well. Well, we'll see. Hopefully this person will continue and finish it off and enter it in our state and see how many awards they take away from Rick and I again. So winter equinox.
Okay, the science person in me is really disturbed because it's a solstice, not an equinox in the winter.
Oh, good point.
Equinox is fall and spring.
Yeah.
And so this is messing with me.
Okay, so
you could call it winter solstice.
Right. Yeah, no works, but well, you're right. Just in that point right there, there's going to be other judges who will pick up on that and say, that's not right. Yeah.
Or just call it equinox and not put winter in there, like whatever, but don't put those two things together. Because that is just gonna.
Good point.
It's just gonna bother me.
No, it really is a good point because heaven forbid that we'd have to have Lisa not score this well. What do you think about the image, though?
I really like the So lighting on the woman. I like the way she's been captured. It's soft, they've lit the mask of the face, but we still have some fall off on the cheeks, so we're getting some shaping there and shaping on her nose, which is really lovely. I'm a little disturbed that this moon isn't round. It feels like
Just saw that too.
I'm looking at this down here. It's like it's
I'm
almost,
gonna enlarge the thumbnail so you can see the globe.
yeah, it's almost okay. So that feels round, but this moon doesn't feel round. It's almost like watermelon shaped slightly. It's
Yeah.
just not, it's just slightly out of round for me, and I don't know why.
No, I don't know why. Well, and those are the little things that will keep a point down or two from your
Yeah.
nose, because we all look at a moon and we think, even with lighting and shading on the moon and stuff, it's still a round globe, and we still
Right.
see that in our minds.
I think the composite has been done nicely. We have, contact shadows, which is
Yeah.
important. It doesn't, it's a little mushy right here, a little mushy, but it's not bad. I'm picking at nits right now.
Oh, back in here, yeah. Well, I mean, in when we look at imagery that's in the art category, yeah, we still have the same elements to look at, but there also has to be the technical aspects there of how well was this put together. Is it believable? Can
Right.
we look at it and understand it as one image, as if it was shot this way, as opposed to a composite? So even though we have the thumbnails, but that's more what the judges are looking for, is, was this put together in a sense that
Believably.
it actually happened? Yeah.
This thumb right here, very awkward. And I'm sure I know it's in the original, but that's just a posing thing. Like
Oh yeah, I see that.
like on this thumb, it's nicely laid against her finger, and on this thumb, it's sticking straight out. It's not laying against her finger. And so I sat here for the longest time looking at it, wondering what it was, and then I realized it's her thumb sticking straight out instead of being lined up.
Yeah.
That isn't a composite thing. That's just a posing thing.
But again, that's a, yeah, but again, there's a point, that goes off.
Attention to detail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Rick, anything else you want to add?
Compositionally, I think the maker did a good job. The placement of I guess it's a ferret, on the shoulder.
Ermine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The
The
face.
ferret is,
And then across.
yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just the portrait photographer in me, but I just really have concerns with right angles, especially in the female form. And I get it, she's holding that sphere, the moon, whatever, close to her body. But I just feel that, that there could be just a little bit more fluidity to the posturing. But
you think it's a little stiff, the pose?
I do. It's because we've got her shoulders, her face, her chest, everything straight ahead, and that could be interpreted as stoicism, I guess. But just a little bit of a contra posture would, I think, help this image.
A little more
But see, she's a
movement.
queen. You see, she's got this ice crown. She's a queen. I think that's a power stance, and so I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And I also like the triangle that we have with these faces. So I enjoy the posing, and for me, it feels like a power stance. She's a queen. She's a nice queen in her winter world with holding the moon and the commands the animals. So it all works together for me from that standpoint. I don't want her to be fluid. I want her to be strong and angular, and I think it fits with the other we've got these sharp things coming here, and we've got this sharp line, and we've got this V-neck. We have it just feels strong and sharp to me. I like it.
And again, that's why we have no comment either way, but that's why we have 5 judges on a panel, because you're going to get those different things. Because when Rick was saying what he was saying, I go, yeah, it is a little stiff, and then now she's explaining it that way. I'm like, yep, I see that too. So And it's not like one's right and one's wrong. It's just
No,
one of
it's
those
just
different points
different
of
ways
view.
to approach it.
And that's why we do it this way. So I can't add anything more. I think you guys have nailed it pretty well. Yeah, I think it just all I would say is if to take this further into competition, I would look at those. We talk about some of the shadows, but also the roundness of the moon and the thumb, and just stuff like that that could definitely take a few points off and keep it out of another category for a better trophy, if you want to look at it that way. So, all right, good work. Got just a couple more here. We have Winter Roundup. So this is a very beautiful capture action of all these horses coming at us here, which is always makes it a little more exciting because they're coming right into your camera here. Even this lead horse looks like he's looking right down the barrel of the lens, so it makes it that much more intense. Nice spread on the animals. We have, boy, excuse me, we have that tough time of day, we'll call it, where we've got some bright, harsh sun, and that's giving us these deeper shadows, especially on the darker horses. Back in here, I could use the pen that I'm telling you guys to use. So we've lost some detail in here and back in here. This I'm not so much worried there, but this one I think this could be saved a little bit. And we get, this is a hard call because it's a really exciting image, great movement, great story, but then we have all this snow that's been trampled through many times, and it's just distracting, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not that I would say crop up, because then you're going to lose that feel. I mean, the horse's knee is right here, so we get this much more leg in the snow. But it's one of those things that it's just asking for attention, and then it goes to that question, gosh, should I enter that competition or not? Another thing that, and I realize we're shooting into a mountain, so we do have this very strong angle of the land, and I know it's not always straight, and if you straighten that up, you're going to get like she's already leaning a little bit this way. We straighten this up, she's going to be falling over. So, but it does, because there's such a harsh contrast between the snow and the shadows of the trees back there, it is asking for a lot of attention. What else do you guys want to add to that?
Well, I
I
think
don't.
go ahead, Lisa.
I don't mind the crunchy snow here at all. I think that just adds some life to the image. I would love to see the low lights lifted a little bit over here as well. It's fairly dark in this area. So I'd love to see that lifted. And this red key line right here, I don't know. That is absolutely not the right color for this key line. Just a lighter color of the blue that was chosen for that would be perfect. That would just give us a nice key line with low contrast, because we've got enough contrast in the image. But whatever this reddish color is, definitely is not doing any favors. It's almost vibrating. Red and blue on top of each other, or green and red vibrate, and it's hard to look at.
Yeah, it's very challenging visually to see that.
I love this guy right here, though.
Yes.
Love that.
Rick, you want to add anything else? Rick?
Yeah, for me, the strength of this image is in the storytelling. And kudos to the maker, because, man, this time of day with all of that snow, I mean, you've got a million reflectors all over the place just with that snow.
Very true.
That's not an easy capture to make. So for me, the strength of this image definitely is in the storytelling. Unfortunately, on the technical side, the points that were made, we just have to take those into consideration and see if that's something that we want to proceed with. But definitely storytelling there.
Agreed.
Very cool, guys. Thank you. So we have one more image to talk about here. Let's go to that one. Working man's firstborn. Mr. Portrait Rick, what do you think?
Oh, yes. I just want to love it so much. And I mean, there's just a tenderness to it, the storytelling. lighting is nice. The near square presentation and composition is handled well. Unfortunately, the story could be a little bit more beneficial if we had a little more depth of field to see the grittiness of his fingers. I mean, that's our story, the working man, to see a little more definition, quite a bit more definition. And and we notice, how we have really nice sharpness here, but then because of that shallow depth of field, it just falls off so quickly on the last two fingers of the babe. But what a neat concept.
I'm 100% with you on that. There's just too much of this image that has fallen out of the plane of focus, and it's overwhelming. Most of what we're looking at is soft versus the little baby's knuckle, which is nice and sharp. I would love to see the plane of focus be much deeper so that we are getting the grit. I want the grit.
And I'm
I
sorry.
think this right here is a sensor. That one right there
Yeah,
looks
I
like
think that it's
a
censored, yeah.
sensor dust.
Looks like it, doesn't
This is worth restudying and going back. And if we do that, I would just pull that sleeve up or take it off, and let's see the bare arm of the baby.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's not doing any favors. It's just a bright
Yeah.
alleyway right down the middle.
No, I agree with all you guys. I think the story here, and I think the title is quite strong, Working Man's Firstborn. But yeah, if those hands were as crisp as the knuckle here on the baby's hands, that whole story could just really be much stronger. The bare baby's arm, let the light fall off back there, but if it was sharp back through these fingers even, man, this could be, it's cool, great concept.
It could use just a little bit more space on the right and left.
Sure, that wouldn't
And
hurt.
I don't know what's out there, so maybe that crop was to get rid of other things, but
Well, it
it
looks like
doesn't need to be that tight to tell the story.
right, but it's dark enough that I bet you could just emulate a little bit more,
Yeah.
bringing the crop out. Oops, I got the wrong.
This is, in my opinion, is worth revisiting in terms of a redo.
Agreed.
It's a great concept.
So I think we've said it, and hopefully if the maker's listening, but we've recorded it. So, okay, yeah. Paired in harmony. Thank you. Sorry, don't know how I missed that earlier. Rick, this is right up here. What do you think?
Yeah, man, it sure is. This thing is beautiful. Gosh, I'm looking at the lighting on the subject, so soft, delicate. The expressions of the two young ladies. There's obviously storytelling, so we're talking about lighting, storytelling. I think the composition is handled extremely well. We've got this. We've got a really nice triangular composition with the subjects, and the supporting elements. It appears that we may have toned the bass down a little bit. I wouldn't object if it was toned down even just a tad more, because it's against such a solid dark floor. But the supporting elements are handled really well. Maybe toning down the keyboard just a little bit, especially to the left. Presentation is handled well. Gosh, I just think it's a lovely image.
I think this whole area down here could be brought down a little bit.
Deeper yet?
It's darker back here. I mean, obviously, because it's in the shadow, but I think this whole thing could be just brought down a little bit. It feels like there's maybe a little light spill or something that's lighting the foreground. But the lighting on these two girls is just beautiful. The posing is lovely. There's something going on right here at the back of her hair. And I don't know exactly what that is. It looks like there's a little tuft of hair and then not. Like, there we go. Yeah, something's going on with the hair.
Yeah, we kind of lost a little bit of hair.
Like it's a shadow right here. Like this is a shadow right here or something, but it looks like there's a
like it should.
It looks like there's a bite out of her hair right there.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
definitely don't want that.
That's a pretty darn easy fix too.
Yeah, yeah. But
And
I
you know,
could see it from something.
and-
I could see it, and it was definitely an issue.
yeah,
And the same thing up here. Bring it back up a little bit. So I know this is the chin thing for a violin, but it looks like there's just a bite out of that violin. So if there's something that can be done to help bring detail in here so we can see that it's the little chin cup rather than just a bite out of the violin. You know, even if you could just see the far edge of the violin, I don't know, but something so it doesn't look like a bite out of it.
Oops.
But there's so much awesomeness in this image that you want to make sure that all the details are
yeah. And you know, we talked about
attended to.
presentations all during the show tonight. And again, you know, we have several layers, but it just doesn't bother me because the tonality is handled so well.
Right. Low contrast, and it's really done beautifully.
Yeah, yeah.
And guys, keep in mind that you're watching, judges don't have that option to enlarge the image like we've done here. So that's not
Right.
something to either panic about or worry about, but are doing it.
But we would be seeing it a little bit larger than it is right now.
That's
Right.
true, but we are
would fill
doing
the
it now
frame.
to help you out with all those little things. Because somebody might say, well, just like Lisa said at the beginning, it says something at the back of her hair, and I'm not sure what it is. Just because of that's there, all the rest of the judges go, yeah, what is that? And boom, there goes some points. So we'd rather not follow the rules here.
Yeah.
Unless a judge can explain it away.
True.
But in this case, that'd be a tough sell.
I could explain away the violin, but I couldn't explain away the hair.
So let me ask you guys this question, since your portraiture is your strong suit, or just in general. So the background, the clock, and the piano have been toned down, obviously. Are
Mhm.
you okay with how it's been toned down?
The
So
whole thing has a little bit of a painted feel to it, and so the background tends to have a feel flat, like it's a painted canvas almost.
right, okay, but I mean, you're okay with that?
I am.
Okay,
I like it.
okay, Rick, you know, you,
Well, you know, since you bring that up, I guess it has just a little bit of a, I don't know if you're looking for like a slight muddiness to the toning down.
that's what I see has happened in the face of the clock and the keys and the highlights of the books and highlights on the piano. They're it's gotten very muddy because it's been toned down.
Right.
But if it wasn't toned down, we'd be saying it's too bright. It's fighting for
No,
attention.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and you know, there's so much strength in the subjects and the lighting on the subjects that, you know, these are all obviously secondary elements, and it just again, there's just so much strength here compositionally, lighting, storytelling, that, you know, that just doesn't become that much of an issue
Okay.
for me.
I
Well,
would tone down these keys though to match this side.
that's true, yeah. Well, and again, just in what I teach, especially in the landscape, I talk about when you tone down a background, you definitely need to tone it down so it's not an obvious thing, so like you said. But there's ways of toning this down and bringing back the highlights. In other words, you're bringing back that contrast, but it's at a lower level.
Well, there's no speculars back there, which is part of the problem.
That's true. There's this piece of glass and probably a high polished veneered or varnished finish that needs to have some highlights on it, but just things that make it three-dimensional, make it realistic, but can still be all toned down. But I think it still needs to have that three-dimensional feeling to it, because right now, if I was judging this, the subjects are just, I mean, oh my God, I wish all my portraits looked like that over the years. But that background, and even I'm seeing it in the base of the stand, they just look really flat and muddy, and it doesn't carry a consistency throughout the whole scene. So little things like that of bringing the life back into these shadow areas, the clock, the piano, the base of the stand, to match the integrity of the rest of the scene. That's kind of where I'm going with that. So
yeah,
that's a long way around the block there. Sorry about that, but
oh, that's points well made.
So that was the last one. Thank you guys. Any other comments? the peanut gallery is still with us. Any other comments, you guys, questions? As I say, bad jokes, anything you want to share with us before we go? Remember, this has been recorded and it will be up on the site real shortly. And that way you can go back and zoom in and take a look. And I've added a time code to it, so you should be able to zoom in to different times and mark some notes, bookmarks where your images are, if that'll help. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Back to the real world. Here we are. Lisa, thank you so much for giving us your time tonight and your expertise.
You bet.
We always love
happy
chatting
to be
with you.
here.
Rick, anything else you want to add to the?
Lisa, the comments were invaluable, and Jeff and I always say it after every show. Gosh, how much we learn. I think, at least speaking for myself, how much more I learn than I think I ever impart. And that to that end, to that point, I thank you, and I appreciate your being with us and sharing your expertise.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a great way to spend my evening.
Oh, well, I hope so. So I hope you all have a chance now to go get something to eat and enjoy the rest of your evening. And like always, Rick and I are always available on the imagecritiqueshow.com website. If you have questions, our email's on there. If you're looking for more critiques, by all means, reach out. We will offer that service. The other big thing that we're working on is we're going to want to offer a portfolio critique service. So you get many images together, and we'll get online with you, both of us, and tear your stuff apart. I mean, help you out. And thank you all, and appreciate you tuning in. So that's just some of the things that we're trying to do. And again, just a couple of comments. We got until the 8th of October is our first deadline for image entry into the Colorado State competition. And I say first because it's also a late fee if you want to push it till the 10th. But won't go past that because I need to have time to put things together. We are having an event. It's on the ppcolorado.com page for this competition. Please come. Please have fun. Please enter images. If you haven't ever before, contact one of us and talk to us about it, because you got to start somewhere. There's not really that comment we hear. People will say, I'm not ready yet, or I went in a few years, whatever. No, this is the learn. This is how you get. I mean, the three of us are fortunate enough, Rick and Cliff and such, that we've got the degrees and we've earned the merits and so on. That's great. Those are our rewards for doing this. But at some point, you've got to start. At some point, you got to put it out there and take the feedback. So please enter this. We've got just a really fun day. Cliff is going to be our host that day. Rick and Megan Anderson and I will be just in the other room running the whole situation. Our 5 jurors will be at their homes around the country. So it's going to be a very, very knowledgeable, very, very fun day. But what I was going to say is enter, but just run a print off on your printer and bring those papers with you. So you have a copy of each one of your images. We're going to hang them up on the wall so everybody can see what everybody's done. And then we'll put Cliff will figure it out. We'll put the scores up somehow, and we'll move them over when they get different scores, so you can see how everybody else is doing and have conversations and fun stuff like that. So be brave. I know our heart's on our sleeve for this kind of thing. Rick, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, Lisa touched on it earlier on before we got started, as far as getting back together in person in our meetings and our conferences. And man, I like to think that a lot of this drama is behind us with the pandemic. Sure, it's something that we need to be concerned about, but we can't live out of fear. Let's get back together. It's just the best time when we can get together and share time with each other. We've heard it a million times. Well, how much more you learn out in the halls of these conferences as you do sitting in a program. And there's just no substitute for the camaraderie and the support that we can give each other when we're together in person. Certainly there's a lot that can be learned online, and there's no doubt about that. But, Jeff and I, Cliff, Lisa, we're all, Lisa's, old school.
He has a lot of experience in a very short time. How's that?
There you
There we
go.
go.
Where we,
And I will be bringing Kleenex, so when they crush your spirit.
Yeah. Bring some rolls of paper towels, Cliff.
Yeah, paper towels. Yeah.
But anyway, there's just no substitute for us getting together in person and just having a great time. Again, Cliffy, thank you so much, my friend.
You bet. Glad to do it.
So appreciated and all that you
Yep.
do. Lisa, enjoy a great dinner tonight, and we'll
will.
look forward to hear your next excursion abroad and see what.
I think it's going to be Australia.
Oh, good.
Ooh, okay. Well, you need somebody to carry your camera. I'm in. I'll stay back. You won't even know I'm there.
There you go.
Lens, putter, lens, whatever. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
all.
everybody. So remember, we're not having a show in October, but the end of November, the 30th, will be our next show. So that we can kind of use that as a review for the competition from the state, or obviously get images ready for next year's MRI and such. MIR, MEZ, whatever it is. That PPA thing that they've thrown at us every month. Gang, thank you everybody so much for coming. We love you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks so much. We'll see you
Bye,
now.
guys.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.